Should we
Uh,
stop?
yeah, but I think at this point, we should get started on
Okay.
kind of the topic for today. So, well, just to let the attendees here today know, this was originally mostly aimed at students coming from outside of Europe who are studying through Asia Exchange and going predominantly to study in Asia. But as we have quite a few registrants from Europe, I thought that we could kind of switch it up a little bit, talk a little bit about how to say when studying abroad through Asia Exchange in general. I've got Jessica and Maddie here with me today. Feel free to post any questions for them in our chat during this presentation. And we'll be having a little bit of a discussion with them shortly. But first, I'll be giving you a little rundown on who we are and what we do, why you should go abroad through Asia Exchange, what are our competitive advantages, and then, of course, what kind of costs are you incurring during or maybe even before your semester abroad, but also what you're saving on, especially if you're going abroad as a free mover student. And then last but not least, we're going to be, of course, talking with Jessica and Maddie today. We've been doing this at the end of every webinar with a former student or a current student studying abroad through us. Jessica is a former student, studied in Bali through us. I think you'll hear more about that soon. And then Maddie is one of our full degree students in Korea at the moment. And of course, if you have any questions regarding any of the other destinations that we have in our portfolio, be sure to ask about those as well. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, I think let's get forward or onward with the topics at hand today, starting with who we are. So, well, Asia Exchange is a 13-year-old company. Currently, we have 13 partner universities in 7 Asian countries, as well as a new portfolio of destinations outside of Asia as well, mostly in Europe and Central America as well. We were founded by 2 former Finnish exchange students who went to study abroad in Asia back in the early 2000s. They went to Thailand and China respectively, and well, they fell in love with the culture, and they also noticed that you're able to bargain for almost anything and everything in most Asian countries. And they thought, okay, we want to fund further travels into Asia. How could we do this? And they got the bright idea of starting to recruit students and organize study abroad exchanges for mostly Finnish students. And this was kind of a hobby at first. As I mentioned, they wanted to fund further travels into Asia, but then 13 years later, it's actually become the business and grown into the business that it is today. And yeah, currently we're the biggest study abroad provider focusing on Asia especially. And we also strive to be the most affordable for any free mover students, meaning students applying independently outside of their own universities network of host universities around the world. We also try to be the link between our Asian universities and more recently, of course, our other universities on a global scale. And then, of course, the students going abroad to our various destinations and their respective home universities as well. And well, we believe that the Asia Exchange brand is equivalent for quality, expertise, friendliness and convenience. And our team is mostly made up of actually former exchange students, either well, through Asia Exchange or other means who have studied abroad. And yeah, currently we're pretty widely, I would say, recognized within the field of student mobility media outlets. We mostly send students from Germany, from Sweden, other Scandinavian countries, France, and the Benelux countries. I would say those are our main markets, but currently also growing in, for example, the US, where both Jessica and Maddie are from. And our core business is, of course, to recruit students, but also to consult students and home universities looking to send their students abroad. This is especially relevant during the pandemic when we live in pretty uncertain times in terms of student mobility, meaning that a lot of borders are closed, a lot of visas aren't being issued, situations can develop and change pretty quickly. Moving on, what the core of what we do is to provide study abroad as affordably as possible. What this means is if you're applying independently to one of the universities in our portfolio, you will be paying more than you are paying when applying through us. Then we strive to, of course, offer study abroad as conveniently as possible. You may have noticed, if you have already put in an application, that the application form on our website took around 5 to 15 minutes to fill out. And most of the required documents to our various destinations are pretty simple. I would say there's a few exceptions in our portfolio, but mostly it's transcript of records, a photo ID, and for example, the passport ID page. Then, of course, we also strive to offer study abroad for as many as possible. What does this mean? Well, we have a wide variety of programs available, from gap years, summer schools, full degrees, to semesters abroad. And we have a wide variety of study fields available as well. Mostly they're in the field, or most students who go abroad through us are business students and engineering students, but we also offer various other study fields that you may be interested in. Then going on to the core advantages shortly on why you should apply through us. Well, first of all, as I mentioned, the simplified application process. If you have applied through us, you may have noticed that you may have already been accepted within 1 week to study abroad. You have a secured study place, meaning there are no student quotas when studying abroad through us that you might be dealing with when, for example, applying through a bilateral exchange, or, for example, an Erasmus exchange, where these universities are partnered and might have, for example, a student quota of being able to send 3 students abroad per semester. If you want to apply with a group of friends or one friend, for example, you're able to do so and be guaranteed a study place at any of our destinations. And then, of course, we have 13 years of experience in Asia, so we kind of think of ourselves as experts on Asia. And we also have, in addition to being located in Tampere, we have offices in the Philippines and Bali, and our co-founder, Tuomas Kauppinen, is located in Hong Kong. So we have a lot of the team located in Asia as well. And if you were to go to or go abroad to Bali through us, you would most probably be meeting our team, for example, during the orientation days. Then, as mentioned before, we have a wide variety of programs and courses. That means we're able to cater to the many, not the few. And we also have late application deadlines. What does this mean? It means that if you're applying through a bilateral exchange or an Erasmus exchange, you would probably need to start your process pretty early, because the deadlines are also extremely early for most of those programs. For Bali, for example, let's say you have a study abroad placement canceled through a bilateral exchange, for example, during the pandemic, you're able to apply to Bali, for example, 2 weeks before the semester starts over there. And if you're able to make your travel plans quickly, you'll be able to make it for the start of the semester. Of course, during the pandemic, the universities are being pretty flexible, so they're also accepting students after the semester start dates. Then, of course, studying abroad will incur some costs for you. What does this mean? Well, as a free mover, you will need to pay tuition fees for your to study abroad at your host university. As mentioned before, studying through us or applying through us, it'll be cheaper for you than applying independently as a free mover. Then, of course, you'll be incurring some travel expenses, and the visa application procedures may require some payments to most of our travel destinations. Another thing you'll also be paying for, of course, is accommodation, whether that's on campus or off campus. It's something good to take into account. And you'll have some, of course, daily living expenses that you would have in your home country as well. But, well, there are costs, but there's also things that you will be saving on when applying through us. And well, the first thing I'd like to, of course, mention is time and effort. What does this mean? This means that normally free mover students who are applying independently would need to find out about the visa procedures. They would need to contact the host university, find out about the application procedures, especially for Asian universities. Some of this information may be hard to find, for example, in English. The application forms may not be in English. You would need to communicate back to your home university and kind of handle the communication back and forth between your destination and your host university there, as well as your home university. And we know that this can require quite a lot of effort, time, and it can be stressful. So that's why we're here to help you with all of these matters. And then, of course, you're also saving on the tuition fees, as mentioned already before. And in terms of the daily expenses, it's important to note that now that we're focusing on especially the Asian destinations, and we mostly have Western students who are going to study abroad in Asia, especially at our Southeast and East and Southeast Asian destinations. The daily expenses in terms of the accommodation, the groceries, daily activities you might be interested in doing there are normally a lot more cheaper than they might be in most Western countries. And yeah, that's kind of it for this short presentation. And at this point, I think we could have a short discussion with Jessica and Maddie as well. How are you guys doing currently?
Good.
Good.
Perfect. So we have Maddie currently studying a full degree in Korea. Thanks for joining up. I know it's pretty late there. I think it's past 2 a.m. And then we have Jessica, who studied with us in Bali back in, I think, 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, maybe you guys could start off by talking a little bit about why you decided to apply through Asia Exchange, why you chose maybe the programs that you decided to eventually attend, and why you decided to apply for those destinations. Would maybe Jessica like to start?
Okay. I chose to apply for Bali through Asia Exchange because I had studied abroad before in New Zealand and I fell in love with traveling, but I wanted a more challenging and different experience. New Zealand was very modern and Western and super developed. People looked the same as me. They spoke the same language, you know, everything came easily, everything was expensive. And so I didn't feel as challenged as I would have liked to be. And I knew that if I went to Indonesia, everyone would look different, speak a different language, wear different clothes, have different food. So that was exciting to me. And I was really impressed by the nature and the geography. And Asia Exchange was just the most affordable study abroad program I ever came across. So it jumped out to me for that reason as well.
Yeah, and I think like in general, well, the most popular destinations currently I would say are like Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, the UK. But I think most of us at Asia Exchange can testify that like and I'm pretty sure that you can as well, Jessica, like further you go, the more you'll learn.
Yes.
And the more you'll grow as well. So in that sense,
I agree. 100%.
Like I definitely understand where you're coming from with this whole thing. What about Maddie? Usually I feel like, well, I'm a big fan of Korea, but also a big fan of Japan. And I feel like these two cultures in a way are kind of similar. And I feel like mostly the students who apply through us to Korea are specifically kind of interested in Korea. What's your story behind applying to Korea specifically and Hankook University of Foreign Studies?
So I actually, in 2017, I actually went to Japan and I just fell in love with East Asia as a whole. I loved the city. I loved the architecture. I loved everything about it. And I just wanted to keep exploring more parts, like more areas of that side of the world. And like Jessica said, I wanted something completely different from what I was used to. And, you know, I'm from the suburbs of America. Like I drive everywhere, like there's nothing. So I wanted to completely do something that I wasn't comfortable with. And I knew I was interested in that side of the world in East Asia. And I wanted to jump into it fully. I wanted to live there. I didn't want to be a tourist. I wanted to know what it was like to like experience it like deep within the culture. So I had no idea where to start. I knew I wanted to live there. Like I wanted to do a full-time degree. So I was just Googling full-time degree, like South Korea, Japan, and I saw the Asia Exchange website and it was really cheap. It took me like 10 minutes to fill out the application and everyone was so nice. So I was just like, you know what? Yeah, like sure. And I just like jumped into it. Like I gave myself like a week thought. Like, yeah.
Are you currently, well, so you're studying in the international full degree program. Have you been acquainted with like a lot of the locals there as well? Or is it only international students?
Oh no, it's my university specifically, it's Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. So it's full of Koreans who also want to study international and foreign studies. So they are also interested in meeting foreigners. So like there are programs here where they like pair you up with Koreans, you do language exchange, like you really get involved with not just international students. Like, yeah, I have friends from like all over the world, like every continent, but I have friends from Korea. My boyfriend is from Korea. Like I feel like I've actually gotten to meet people that are just exchange students and international students. It's been fun.
Yeah. Maybe my next question would be kind of, well, you guys both have experience from different parts of Asia currently, and what was like, in terms of like tips, because we did talk a little bit about the costs, right? So what would you say has been cheaper at your current or your destinations that you, well, in terms of Maddie, you're currently studying there. For Jessica, you did study there. So what was cheaper in your respective destinations compared to, for example, back home, and then maybe even vice versa? What's more expensive? Any tips you can give students?
I would say honestly, everything, almost everything has been cheaper.
Everything.
Food, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Food, accommodation, transportation. I don't have to pay for gas. I don't have to tip. It's my apartment is less than $300 a month. Like it's been really cheap compared to living in America or in like the Western part of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, Jessica, go ahead.
I got to live in a super amazing villa, maybe the fanciest place I'll ever live in my life, for cheaper than my basic college apartment. I mean, we had like 2 terraces, 2 outdoor kitchens, private pool, koi fish pond, gazebo, and it was cheaper than my bedroom in a shared flat with 4 people in America. So that's one example.
Yeah.
And I saw someone asked a question about the scholarships. I don't know if they mean outside scholarships or from your university, but my scholarships through my home university, I was actually able to use them in Asia. So that worked really well for me because I received much more scholarship money than the actual cost of tuition.
Yeah.
So I had a total extra left over. They were like, here's all your scholarship money to use for Asia Exchange. And Asia Exchange only wanted like this much of it. So I just like got to keep the rest of it for me.
Yeah, I think well, I'm kind of making assumptions off the name. I think Fiona, you're a Finnish student. You might want to check your home university's grant pages. I know that some Finnish universities do offer grants for studying abroad, even as a free mover. For example, the University of Helsinki currently outside for students going outside of Europe, they'll offer a €900 grant. I think the University of Turku also offers a sum of around, I think, 1,000 euros for going abroad. Then, for example, Swedish students are able to get student grants through CSN. This is kind of like a government grant, similar to something students would receive from Kela in Finland. And then, for example, German students, most of them apply for the Auslandsbafög, which is also applicable if you're going through Asia Exchange. Yeah, maybe moving on, I'd like to also hear a little bit about your pre-travel preparations. Well, Jessica, it's been maybe, what's it been, 2 years for you
2 years.
Since you were abroad, but any tips in terms of the pre-travel preparations? Maybe also, are there some like essentials that you can think of currently that you should bring to your respective destinations, because it might be, for example, hard to get them in Korea and in Indonesia, respectively?
I didn't need much, but I made sure to bring just some light but conservative clothing, just for school or special events, because in general you can wear whatever you want around Bali, but for something nice or for school, you need to cover up, but it's also hot. So you need to find long sleeve things or long skirts that are also light. But you can also get it there and it'll be much cooler if you buy it there. So you don't have to bring it.
What about Maddie?
Honestly, my biggest mistake was overpacking because I overthought everything. And it turns out, like here in Korea, in such a big city, I could get literally everything. I basically rebought my whole wardrobe. The only thing I would suggest for Korea is to get deodorant, because Koreans don't sweat and Westerners do. So I had to have my parents send me like a box of deodorant. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, and I think, well, one thing that's come up in our earlier webinars, especially in terms of Korea, is if you're staying in one of the student dormitories, I'm not sure, Maddie, if you've stayed in the dormitories for your first semesters. Yeah.
Yes.
So apparently they do not provide bed sheets or pillows. So students have gone to some of the supermarkets when after they've arrived in Korea, or they've brought pillows and blankets with them. I'm pretty sure it's more convenient to get them from or after arriving into Korea. I don't know if you have experience with that.
Yeah, it's so it's kind of different during the pandemic, because normally the university does a flea market and they will sell you. I got my pillows and my bed sheets and everything from the university flea market for like $1. Like it's really cheap, but they haven't been able to do that because of COVID. So there's been like, right now there's I think like 200 exchange students at my university. So they all ran to the supermarket the same day to get them. And so I think that was a big issue. So if you're coming during the pandemic, maybe think about that, or be prepared to travel a couple subway stations down. Also bring big towels, because Koreans, for some reason, like it was so hard to find a big shower towel. Like they only do the little hand towels. I'm like, I'm not going to use that. So that too.
Yeah, actually, well, I've traveled in Japan, and I think it's similar there with the small hand towels. We actually bought those while traveling in Japan as well. Hey, in terms of any like activities, what did you guys do? Or for Maddie, what have you done during your stay in Korea, and what do you recommend for students to do?
So my first semester, I did like everything. It was the semester before the pandemic. So I went to Japan, I went to Hong Kong, I went to Macau, I went to Taiwan, I went to Jeju Island. I traveled like a lot. And I would suggest that because it's so cheap. It was a $20 plane ticket to go to Osaka. I paid maybe $100 total for my whole Japan trip. So if it's possible, if you're going post-pandemic travel, but you can still do it around Korea right now as well. Like we have a high-speed bullet train, and I would suggest just go around the entire country, see the rural areas, see like the old like the King City, go to Jeju Island, just like see as much as you can because it's like so different and so amazing than like compared to what you're used to. And then just like I would suggest just really get involved with the school's activities. Like I said, like the buddy program where they pair you with another Korean and then you have a group of Koreans and other exchange students. Like we had a group of like 10 people and we all like took a bus down to this traditional Korean city and all dressed up in like hanboks and everything. And like it was really fun. So I would just say like get involved with the school itself and they plan so much for you and you get to meet amazing people and just go eat a lot and just like get lost. Like go around the city. If you're going to a big city like Seoul, just take a day to just like run around and like see where you find yourself because Asia is so different from the rest of the world. It's just such an insane experience.
What about Jessica? What did you get up to?
A lot of surfing, motorbiking, mountain climbing. I definitely recommend to take advantage of the nature for anyone coming to Bali or anywhere in Asia that has good nature because that seems to be one of the things that they can't take away during the pandemic. I mean, they can't close the waves, or it's a lot more difficult. So yeah, I mean, hiking up volcanoes, like going jungle trekking or, whitewater rafting through like a jungle stream. These things are really fun. Snorkeling was amazing there. I think I'm totally spoiled by the underwater life of Bali because now when people invite me to go snorkeling in Spain, I look at the pictures and I'm like, oh, there's nothing down there. Like Bali has everything. It's like a whole new world down there. And these things are so much cheaper than they would be in any other country. And as Maddie said, like it's really good to have a buddy that is actually from there. They didn't have a buddy program in Bali, but I definitely recommend to hang out with the Indonesian people because they can show you the true experience. And if you think life is cheap in Bali, wait until you start hanging out with actual Indonesian people because then it's going to be even cheaper.
Yeah, same in Korea. They know exactly where to go to like you can drink for like $1 and then just get like have the best
Yeah.
night ever. Go to
Or sometimes
karaoke.
they're like, oh, you're friends with that guy? You don't pay.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I mean, I think they say that I've read from I don't remember where that like during your semester abroad, the cheapest way to live is living like a local, of course. So
exactly.
in that sense, always better when you get to know some of the locals, get to know the places they go to in terms of parties or in terms of restaurants, foods, activities, so on and so
yes.
forth. So
I think I ate out for every single meal in Indonesia. I think I never cooked, but it's so affordable that you can actually do it. And I'm not a person that eats out very much in America. I don't like to spend a lot of money on food because I think it's a huge waste of money. But in Bali, you can do it. And massages. You can get like a deep tissue massage for an hour for $5. So you can do this like every day, twice a week. You can live a life of luxury there on a
Yeah,
small budget.
it's cheaper to eat out for every dinner, every meal too, which is amazing.
I think I've also heard that from some of the students who are abroad there at the moment. They've said that sometimes eating out is cheaper, for example, in Korea than buying groceries and then cooking yourself.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But talking about food, I think we've also got like 2 destinations with different food cultures as well. So any kind of tips in terms of that? What have you been trying? And what have you liked the most?
They have a lot of spicy food in Bali, which is really, really good for me. I love spicy, but if you don't, then take it easy. Don't dive in head first.
Yeah, same in Korea. Everything's red. Like, I know a lot of Europeans struggle, like, especially like the Germans and stuff. They struggle a lot with Korean food. I mean, it's really good, but you have to adjust, and you get used to like food you've never eaten before. Like, I love spicy chicken feet. I tried like live. It's live octopus. It's not alive, but it like moves because of its nerves, and it's actually really good. Like pig intestines, and then there's like traditional Korean food like bibimbap and bulgogi, and obviously Korean barbecue, which is like the best thing in the world. But yeah, it's the food culture in Asia is like amazing. It doesn't compare to anywhere else in the world. I think they really appreciate their food. There's so much culture in just eating.
Yeah, and I would like for Indonesia, I've kind of heard it's lots of fried rice.
Nasi goreng.
Yeah,
A
exactly. I
bunch
think
of
that's
boys in my class got Nasi goreng tattooed on their thigh. Matching Nasi goreng tattoos. They were just so in love with the Nasi goreng.
I think that's maybe one of the tips of what not to do for
Yeah.
the participants here today.
They give tattoos at the bar for like $5 to $8.
Oh no.
So even that's cheap. But hey, you guys also mentioned transportation. I think Jessica, you mentioned going around on a motorbike, and then Maddie, you've mentioned the bullet trains, for example, as kind of the easy way to travel around Korea. What would you say? Well, in terms of the cost, but also in terms of like the how do I say this? The accessibility and how easily you're able to move around these destinations. How would you describe that?
I would say Korea has got it down. It's like amazing, especially moving from America where it's terrible and there's no transportation infrastructure. If there's buses, there's subways, you have the bullet train that can take you anywhere in the country. You have inner city buses. Like I took a bus to Busan, and it's all really cheap. Like the subway for one way is about $1. And you can transfer, so you can like take a bus, get off the bus, and then transfer onto the subway with no fee, and it's about $1. And it's all really easy. Everything's connected. Like you get one thing called a T-Money card, and it's your transportation card, and it counts for taxis, subways, buses, and it works in convenience stores too. So everything's just like really like it's great. Like in the subway stations, everything's announced in English. It's really hard to get lost in Seoul because they have it down like perfectly. They know how to get millions of people around a city. You won't get lost unless you want to.
For Bali, I would definitely recommend getting a motorbike. It's just so much fun, and I mean, it makes everywhere you go an adventure. You just go outside and you get on the bike. You don't even know where you're going. You just know you're going somewhere. Mine costs probably about $35 a month, but this gives you totally free access to anywhere you want to go. Like currently I live in Spain and they have pretty good public transportation, but every time I want to go somewhere, I have to check and see if there's a bus there. And if there's not, then I can't go. Whereas in Bali, if you have a motorbike, you can go anywhere in the entire island on a whim. You can just say, oh, I'm going to drive to the other side of the island, and you just get on your bike and go.
Yeah.
So it's really fun.
Definitely. And hey guys, I'd like to remind that if you do have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat as well, or even open up your mic and ask any of us questions. And I think, yeah, I mean, definitely two different types of transportation. I think that, well, in terms of Bali, probably for some, getting on the scooter or the motorbike might actually be a little bit of a challenge. People might be a little bit nervous. And then when it comes to kind of the South Korean public transportation. I think that's something that's most Westerners will be more used to. Or what would you guys say?
It's a little nerve-wracking in the beginning, but I think it's totally worth it. It opens up your world, and you just have to be careful and take it easy, and don't drive drunk, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. If there are no more questions, I think that well, we've talked a little bit about kind of everyday life in these destinations. Maybe we could also go into the academics a little bit, and could you talk a little bit about like the experience studying at these destinations? What was it like? And what is it like now for Maddie, of course?
Well, honestly, the university experience was not too much of a change. It was very similar to American universities since I transferred, so I got the experience both. But I had at my university specifically, it's like famous for all the foreign professors and stuff like that. So I had a professor from like every continent, and it was like so cool getting perspectives from someone from Poland, someone from like Tanzania, someone from a professor from Brazil. Like it's been really cool in that aspect. Korea is definitely not the easiest place to study. I would say if you're going as an exchange student, maybe take 4 classes and you should be okay. Like you'll still have work, but you can still have time to travel. Probably don't take more than 4 classes. I know an exchange student who took like 6 classes and he was just drowning. So appreciate your time as an exchange student, like take like the minimal amount you can, because Korea still puts a lot into like academics, and you learn a lot. Like they're fun classes and they're very entertaining classes, but you are busy. And right now it's all still on Zoom, which actually has been a lot easier. I think all the professors are like, okay, like this already sucks a lot for people. Let's like go a little bit easier. And it has been nice because having Zoom classes, you do have more time to go explore the city. Like a lot of the like Seoul is known for the cafe culture. So there's so many crazy Instagrammable cafes and stuff. So like every week, me and my friends will do a class like in a different cafe. It's been really fun.
Okay, yeah, that's one way to do it, definitely. During the pandemic especially. And it's good to hear that despite the pandemic, you're able to actually go out to restaurants, cafes, move around the city. Most of the European countries currently are in quite heavy lockdown mode, so to say. So
yeah, everything is open right now. Bars, restaurants, museums, everything's open. I know a lot of the exchange students this semester are so happy because they've been locked down in Europe for months. It's been great, but Korea has really been smart about the pandemic. I think most of Asia has. Everyone wears masks. Everyone is very courteous. So it's been a pleasant experience.
And I think it's easier. Sorry, Jessica, just to comment here as well.
Fine.
I think it's easier kind of with the mask wearing, it's easier for the Asians because if they have a common cold, they'll be wearing the mask, whereas something that Westerners aren't as used to.
Yep.
But yeah, Jessica, any comments regarding the academic side of things in Bali?
I really enjoyed my classes. I took 4 classes, and that was a perfect workload for me. It was pretty relaxed and gave me a lot of time to still explore Asia. And my favorite class was actually Indonesian language. They teach you, everyone who comes to Bali has to take an Indonesian language class. You can take a lower level one, or you can take, that's I think once a week, or you can take a more advanced one that's twice a week. And I would recommend the more advanced one because it really helped me to get to know the people more and get a more authentic experience. Because as we said, when you hang out with the locals, you have a much better experience. And part of getting in with the locals is being able to communicate with them. And the language is actually really easy. It's the easiest language I've ever studied. It's very, very simple. And it's nice that you can practice it every day and use it. So you know, use it or lose it. Like I've studied languages before that went one ear and out the other because I didn't use it. But I use this one every day, bargaining in the market and shopping and meeting people on the street. And one time in class, they took us actually to the market bargaining on a field trip, and they like taught us how to bargain. And they had some Indonesian students helping us bargain, and it was so fun. So we all went and bargained and bought traditional Indonesian clothes, and this was part of the school day. And in another environmental class, they took them to like a swampy beach area and they got to plant trees. So sometimes it was very hands-on and you really got to get out there and experience the things firsthand rather than just hearing about them. And I thought my professors were really funny and entertaining.
That's good to hear as well. But hey, actually, this was around a 45-minute session that I had planned here, and we still have a couple of minutes left. So maybe like last but not least, in terms of, well, generally, what are the tips or the top tips that you guys would give to a student looking to study abroad in Asia specifically?
I would say just don't stress out too much. I think a lot of exchange students, a lot of people coming into studying abroad, they stress out so much. They freak themselves out. I think just step back a little bit and just appreciate the fact that like you're gonna study in a different continent. Like that's super cool. I think just take it easy, let things happen. Especially if you're going through Asia exchange, it makes it a lot easier. You'll actually have someone like backing you up and you'll have guides and everything. So just calm down, do some research before you come, I think. I think that makes the experience a lot better. And then just befriend the locals and learn some of the language and just like have fun and don't be too scared to do anything. Just like jump into experiences. Don't be nervous.
And I would say to get out of your own cultural bubble. Don't
Yeah.
go to study abroad if you're from Germany and only hang out with other German people, or if you're from Sweden and only hang out with Swedish people, because I find that that happens a lot because it is, you know, nerve-wracking to be in a totally new place, and it's natural to flock to people that you're familiar with, but then you're not really getting the full experience of the cultural exchange. It's a perfect opportunity for you to practice English and meet people from all different cultures, and especially from the local culture that you are visiting at that time. And like I said, you have a much more authentic experience that way. And I would say get lost. Like you don't have to have an agenda. Just go outside and go do something and you're going to have a great time. You
Yeah.
don't need to have plans.
Yeah, I mean, definitely good points by both of you. And I think like one relevant thing I would add for a more contemporary thing in terms of, especially with the pandemic situation going on, I think a lot of students are worried, concerned, scared to go abroad. But I would say that if you currently grab, for example, a map of the world, check the pandemic situation around the world, you would see that all the let's say the little red dots or red areas are quite a lot smaller in Asia, especially in most of our destinations. I would say Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Taiwan are examples where pandemic situation is very good. And I think Bali's getting some very positive signs as well in terms of the vaccinations rolling out and their own or the amount of COVID cases popping up there as well. So in that sense, yeah, we are living in uncertain times, but I would still kind of encourage you highly to just do it, so to say. But yeah, I think that's it for our session today. If there's no further questions, I want to thank Maddie for taking the time. I know it's late in Korea. Thanks for coming to talk with me today. And also Jessica, thanks a lot for the insights today. If you did attend, you will be receiving the recording and presentation latest by next week through email. And of course, all the other registrants will be receiving this whole session by email as well. But yeah, a big thanks on behalf of Asia Exchange to the people here today, and thank you to the panelists. And well, stay safe and have a great weekend or upcoming weekend.
You too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good luck with everything. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.